Rated M for mature.
Now, CBS Southwest News 10 at 10.
The end of the century is just days away, and for investigators tracking cults and other fringe groups, there's reason for concern. Crime reporter Darren White joins us with an exclusive look at a potentially dangerous group right here in New Mexico.
Deanna, they call themselves soldiers of God, and no matter how often they move, they can't escape their past. Now some worry New Mexico may be the site of the next doomsday cult.
Did you know that the U.S. government is a cult?
Right now, I understand that both major parties have leapt into action. Tell us about that.
Yeah, this is interesting. The Democrats are currently searching basements and creepy backyard sheds in search of somebody who was kidnapped at a young enough age that they have no online presence.
That is a very interesting tactic.
Could be an option, and the GOP has been looking at this young man. This is a 20-year-old Jeeves Jones. He's currently living in Appalachia with his fundamentalist Christian grandmother and no electricity.
So Jeeves has no Facebook page.
Jeeves does not. In fact, he's completely illiterate, and the Republican Party has begun grooming him for a possible candidacy in 2036.
All right, well, at least there's someone. Thank you, Jason Copeland.
Thanks, Andrea.
Now, in related news, former White House advisor David Axelrod is advocating getting rid of the presidency altogether. He suggests that instead of having elections, whoever becomes mayor of the Washington Monument on Foursquare gets to lead the country. We'll talk to him later in the hour.
Veneration of a person, ideal, or thing manifested by a body of admirers. Did you know that the U.S. government is a cult? Did you know that the welfare system is a cult? Did you know that the medical system is a cult? That you have to worship Daddy Doctor and do what he says or you're going to be dead by tomorrow? Oh yes, Dr. Peabody. Oh yes, Dr. Peabody. I heard a doctor story the other day. Well-respected doctor, head of, his department or his field. Everybody thinks of him as an expert. A drunkard, a sex pervert, probably a wife beater. I wouldn't want to worship that. Would you? No. You'd be amazed at the things people get into, the cults that they live in. Did you know that the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts are cults? Did you know that even the Brownies and the Bluebirds are cults? The Brownies and the Bluebirds are cults. Now, if you don't know what Brownies and Bluebirds are, don't bother, because it's probably not worth your time. But the point I'm getting to is there are thousands of thousands of thousands of cults in this land. And yet people have taken it upon themselves to assume if you proclaim that somebody's a cult, that you are using the dirtiest word against them that could be found. And they're supposed to cringe under condemnation, fall in a heap, weep and cry at your feet that you will take back your label of cult. Well, I've got news for you. I faced the reality a long time ago because the Lord told me to face it. People were calling us a cult. Those people are a cult. That ACMT's a cult because some old hag that looks like a rag is mad at them and they're a cult. How do you know they're a cult? Because she said. Well, what does she know? She was with them. Oh, she's a backslider, a bitter babe, a reprobate. Is that what you mean? That's right. No, she said they're a cult, a dangerous cult. I think their leader even looks like, well, not looks like, but has eyes like Charlie Manson. Guess what? If you have eyes in your head, you can look out of them and see you got eyes like Charlie too. Huh? And I know their leader's eyes aren't that great because she can't see very well. That's why she wears specs. But the point I'm getting to is that if somebody says, okay, I'm going to get you, I'll get you, I'll get you. Cult. That's it. Presto, you're bad. Presto, you're evil. Presto, you're doing wickedness. Presto, everybody's supposed to be afraid of you. Presto, you're supposed to whisper behind your hand when you see one of those people because they're a cult. I said they're a cult.
Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet.
It's about time we take the fangs out of cult. It's about the time we reduce it down to the toothless monster that it is. Okay? It's about the time we face the fact Jim Jones was a cult. The government agents that destroyed Jim Jones were also a cult. They didn't make the Kool-Aid or drink the Kool-Aid. They were forced to by the government agents. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, there goes cult phobia. There it goes. What happened? We're supposed to fear Jim Jones for the next 5 centuries because some people were killed by the government in South America and claimed they committed suicide. It was another government job. Are you going to say Oklahoma City was a cult? Are we going to say Waco was a cult? Well, they've already said that. You know, the government agents burn them alive and they're a cult. Now, who's the criminal? Well, they are, because the government agents had to burn them alive. They had to burn women, children, grown men. They had to burn down the compound. What is this? It's tactics of fear, intimidation, and control. And it has nothing to do with reality. The reality is, in a nation that's being more and more ruled by fear, ruled by darkness, ruled by workers of iniquity, the very stress and emphasis on cults is a power tool. You might say a power play, whereby the government can at any time come in and annihilate, destroy somebody who's been labeled a cult because they're a cult. Not because they're doing evil, not because they're doing wrong, not because they're violating the laws of the land, but because they are a cult. Now, in our definitions so far, I have now not found any instance of iniquity. I'm not going to kill you because you worship Mother Mary. If you want to worship Mary and you're satisfied with do good, pray, fine. You know, that's not my problem. And I'm not going to kill you because you worship Elvis in your wheelchair. Woo! I'm not going to do anything to you. I'm not going to seek to get you thrown out of the nursing home and, you know, everybody kicking your wheelchair after you because you're a dangerous cult. I'm not going to do that. Now, why should we be exceedingly angry and trying to destroy cults in a nation, if we're speaking only of the religious sector, that was founded on the principle of religious freedom? Did you know that the Protestant churches in Catholic countries are qualified as cults because they are a separation from the mother church? Now, in Mexico, every church that's outside, every iglesia that's outside the mother iglesia, which is the Catholic Church, is defined as a culto. C-U-L-T-O. What do you think that means? Cult. I said the C word. Oh. Forgiveness, Lord, for such a swear word out of my mouth. Huh? It's a cult. Okay, so if you want to go on a cult hunt, you could go and destroy every Protestant church, every Protestant denomination, every Protestant place of worship in a Catholic country and probably be celebrated by the government because you got rid of the nuisances. Okay, in America, one of the founding factors that was here, whether you know it or not, was religious communities. There were literally hundreds, maybe even thousands of religious communities that were established in America by immigrants, mostly from Europe, who were seeking a land whereby they could worship and serve God in the way that they felt led to do. And most of these turned out to be good, stable, hard-working citizens. So, you might say that America's history has a good build-up of cultism. And now, ever since Jim Jones, anybody that's labeled a cult is suspect of committing suicide. But anybody that investigates Jim Jones and the great saga of the supposed suicide in Guyana finds out they didn't commit suicide. The government, U.S. government agents did away with them. They murdered them. Okay? But all this hysteria that's evolved from that has proven what? You can go to Waco and you can burn alive a bunch of people because they're a cult. You can blacklist, blackball, denigrate through the media, which is Satan's gossip line, anybody you want to if you simply say they're a cult. You can take the word of backsliders, haters of God, idol worshipers against good Christian people because the backsliders say the group they came out of is a cult. And then you're supposed to tremble in fear and hatred and hostility towards the people who have been labeled a cult. I got news for you, honey. You're in a cult. You're in a cult of cult hysteria. Huh? You're a fanatic in your hatred for cults. And you live under cult phobia. You're cultophobic. You are cultophobic. That's your major problem. It's true. We'll look at the, what's it called? LGB what? Anyway, the LGBTQXT, the, shall we say, the allegiance of the homosexual community, which includes the lesbians, the bisexuals, the transgenders, the transvestites, the trans whatevers. It includes all these freaks, okay? So all the freaks have banded together and they're saying, we are the righteous ones. The rest of you are flakes because you go and do it the right way and then you have kids and you overpopulate the earth. We're the martyrs, we're the sacred ones, we're the winners. They're a cult. And the whole nation's bowing to the cult. Bayrak is scared of the cult. He bows to the cult. He worships the cult. He works for the cult. He does everything for the cult. So is he a cultist? Ask him. But the point I'm getting to is that if you really look at the word cult in the light of its definitions by the dictionary, and in the light of the hysteria that accompanies the term, what do you find? Fear. Fear. Unjustified fear. Okay? All right, going on in our definition of it. A group or sect bound together by devotion or veneration of the same thing, person, ideal, etc. And then the last definition is a religion considered to be false. Then my question is, by who? Who is the judge? Is it God? Or is it those who are afraid? Or is it those who are mad because the cult is still not in the same old thing of religious tradition? Did you know if Martin Luther had not have come out of the Catholic Church and other reformers come out of the Catholic Church, come out of that tradition, there would be no such thing as Protestantism. And when they formed up, they were labeled cults in whatever language of the nations they were in. In other words, they were separatists. They were separate from the religious tradition that was accepted. The whole thing of America, all the pilgrims, all the Puritans, all the religious sects and groups that came over here were escaping the state churches that said you can only worship, you can only pray, you can only do things a certain way. Otherwise you're a cult and you deserve to die. There was literally tens of thousands of people who were put to death because they were mislabeled and mishandled, and much evil was attributed to them they never even did because they separated from the religious tradition of the Mother Church. Now that's the truth. So now we have modern day inquisitors going around putting names on people that they are a cult in the hopes that they will likewise be put to death.
Investigators tracking cults and other fringe groups, there's reason for concern.